Hey, what's going on? Today I'm going to be reviewing a tea from the White 2 Tea subscription box. If you're subscribed, you definitely remember this tea. This is the GUSHU, the big old tree. You know, in the tea world, like this is like the World Series tea of tea. 2025 Spring Arbor Old Raw Puer. So, a 50-gram cake, which is kind of nice. This tea is new material, but the thing about this tea is it's really good to age. So aged GUSHU material, which means really big ancient trees, aged GUSHU is like the best of the best, and it can be the expensive of the expensive. So today I'm going to be trying a little bit of this material, and then I'm going to put it away and I'm going to touch it maybe in 2 years time, try it again, and then see how long I can age it before I accidentally drink it all. I think the oldest GUSHU, or rather Puer tea I've ever had was maybe 30 years old. I have a friend who tried like an 80-year-old tea, and it was like almost turning into dust. So I think there's a certain point when, you know, you're just drinking dust, but the tea just can become an incredible experience. But the good thing is, even if it's brand new, the material and the tree can be so wonderful that it's going to be great. And to be able to follow, you know, like watching a child grow up, to be able to follow the life of this tea is something I'm excited to do. So I'm going to heat up my teaware here. I'm brewing out of a gaiwan and this little clear teacup, which, you know, I'm trying to get my setup so you can see everything, but I'm not worried about it that much. But this clear cup, double walled, insulated, so you can see the color. And we're probably just gonna use, it's in the afternoon here. I don't want to get too crazy, so I'm just gonna probably use 3 grams. Plus, this is, you know, pretty valuable stuff. I really enjoy the tea box from White 2 Tea. I think it's really fun and interesting to get to try different teas every month, and the amount of tea varies. And, you know, I tend to be okay with less tea if it's interesting and high quality. And most of the time, I would say it's a good mix of high quality and good quality stuff. So that's exciting. So as you can see, I'm using my knife and I'm just kind of gently breaking open a little bit. I want to keep the leaves intact. There's something about the speed and the gentleness of the extraction when our leaves can stay as intact as possible. It also is beautiful, and drinking tea is a beautiful practice. It's all about taking time to notice the subtle things that are going on, right? To taste tea requires presence, and it's all about the sensory experience, both what's happening, you know, in your mouth, but also what's happening in your body. So really being able to tune into the beauty and the colors and the flavors and the textures is what it's all about. So I do a little bit of tea importing myself. I specialize in white tea. I think white tea is amazing, and recently I imported a white tea made from Puer tea trees. So it's white tea made in the Yunnan province. So the leaves are a little bit bigger and more robust, and the tea growing conditions are incredible. So I really like to experiment with how the Puer trees can be the leaves can be processed in a different way to produce different types of tea. But this is really the heart of, you know, when I visited Yunnan province, everybody's drinking the Sheng Puer, which is the raw Puer leaves. So we're gonna give it, I'm not gonna rinse it. I'm not going to. Some people might think I'm crazy for that, but this is a new beautiful tea. I don't want to waste it. I want to try it first thing. So we're gonna pour water in. I've let my water cool because I've been blabbing, so it's probably around 200 degrees. I'm okay with that. Oh yeah, immediately just the those leaves waking up, it almost makes me emotional. There's just something special about it. I'm just gonna give it probably 20 seconds as we can see, and then we're gonna pour it in. I wish I could have a better setup so you can see that. So we're seeing a little bit of color, and we're gonna, wow, okay. So we're getting the classic green bean vegetation. We're also getting that Sheng Puer. There's a special like diesel fuel almost to it. It's this like astringency that kind of uplifts. It's very alive. You know, when you smell a fuel or gasoline, there's like that quality to it. We're like, whoa, like this is something weird, right? This isn't that weird, but there is the quality of like, this is a powerful smell. There's some herbal, vegetal elements that are really alive in this tea. I'm also getting just wonderful light grassy floral notes, not necessarily rose floral notes, but like, you know, the delicacy of specific plants that can give you the sappiness and like the fragrance, like, you know, almost like a marijuana bud or a hop, that level of the gift of what plants have. And it makes sense because really what we're talking about is leaves from a tree, so it kind of makes sense, right? My dog's coming, so this one's to get freaking crazy. I've always said this. You can tell by the first sip if a tea is gonna fit into your, look at that, that's so cute. If a tea's gonna fit in to your palate and your collection, you can tell when it hits your body if it's compatible or if it's not. And of course, through the brewing process, so much more can happen and so much more can come alive. Maybe the tea falls flat, but you can tell that cellular compatibility, in my opinion, relatively quickly. And when you taste a good tea, it just feels a certain way. Hey buddy, what are you trying to do over there? Psst, get out of there. Get out of there. Anyways, so this one's great. What's come through just in the 20 seconds is, you know, already revealing the nature and the gifts of these leaves. It's really special. So it's got primarily like the vegetal pininess to it. It's got a nice, really nice mid layer of like a little bit of structured woodiness. It really has that structured mid layer. So on the palate, this tea has a presence. Okay, you want to come up here? Come on. My friend Rudy. She likes to hang out. She's probably just going to sit there the whole time. Something I love about the first pour through, I'm going to go ahead and pour my second one so we can get it going. The first pour through is like, you're really getting the high ends. You're getting those delicate first notes, those first tastes, and you know it's not going to stay like that. But there's something really nice about getting to just experience the upper range of the palate before the leaves really start to release their oils, and you get that middle to lower range, which often is a very satisfying and rich and robust experience, which is what I love. But to enter into the relationship with the leaves through that higher end is special. So I love to experience the first couple sips as a way to kind of settle me into the process. You know, to be very honest with you, there's a lot of Sheng Puer out there, also known as raw puer, and it doesn't usually rate at the top of my list. When I'm sitting down to have tea, I don't often reach for my Sheng Puer. It's kind of a delicacy in the tea world. People tend to get really into it and kind of stay in that world for a long time because it is like, if you're into tea as a hobby, the ceiling is really high on Sheng Puer. You can just get some incredible aging. Oh yeah. So it's an area where you can really get in. There's a lot of money going on there. But for me personally, it often is a bit more than what I'm looking for. I tend to reserve my Sheng Puer drinking experiences for the better quality stuff, which I don't usually spend a ton of money. But when I'm sitting down with friends, I have a couple really nice cakes. I like to bring those out, and it's a special experience. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of smokiness, a little bit more. What's amazing about old trees, in my opinion, I have to smell it again. Oh my god. It's like you're not smelling one thing, you're smelling a million things. You're smelling, the forest has a smell. But when you smell the forest, like, you're not smelling one forest, you're smelling a billion things living together that creates this deep and complex smell. And there's something about the genetic and cellular experience about smelling a forest. It just makes sense. There's something about this tea that's like so complex. Like, I can't even tell you what I'm smelling, but I almost get lost in the smell. It's amazing. I think I'm using probably 2 to 3 grams, and this cup of tea is just, splendid. It's just a treasure. I like coffee. Let's just put that over here. I like coffee. I drink coffee sometimes. But there's something about picking the leaves from the tea tree, processing them with care, packing them into cakes. Those same leaves, without hopefully too many middle people involved, get to me, and I get to wake them up with water and experience the leaf just as it is, as opposed to coffee where you pick the beans, break the hull, roast the crap out of them, smash them into powder, pour water through them, and kind of get this dark sludge liquid, which is good, right? But there's something that like gets preserved with the tea, where you can really experience like a really wide range of like highs and lows and everything in between. So there's something about, especially these ancient trees, that they're picking and processing these trees with great care, because the material is worth a ton of money, right? So they're going to do the best possible way they can. And oftentimes people have been doing this for a long time. Although this style of tea is not that in the Yunnan region, it used to be primarily green tea. So kind of the pu'er tea craze or trend hasn't actually been going for that long. We can say less than 100 years, which historically in the span of time is not that long. So second pour through, 3 grams of material. This is like really a top shelf tea experience for me. And I don't drink, this is the second time I've had this tea, so I'm not drinking this really even like a top shelf tea. This is one that I want to put away and revisit much later. But there's just something really uplifting. So I'm going to talk, you can probably tell I'm talking faster as I drink this. I want to talk a little bit about the energy of the tea. And if you're going to be if I bought this tea cake, a bigger tea cake at retail price, I don't know exactly how much it would be, but I'm guessing for an old tree with new material, you might be spending like $100 to $300 depending on the size of the cake. So you're going to be putting up some money, but the return on that, let's say I'm using 3 grams right now, which I might be using less, is there's just this deep settlingness that kind of runs down my core. I can feel a little bit of heat. I might even be sweating a tiny bit, but I can just feel my body opening up a little bit. And so I am really happy. I'm happy with the tea that has a stronger energetic presence, because I drink tea for the pick-me-up, right, for the energy, for the taste, but really what I'm looking for is I want a tea that feels like energetically compatible, that helps me to feel present and grounded, Oftentimes I drink tea when I'm doing creative projects, so I want something that helps me like kind of really return to my body and help me kind of connect my body, my mind, and my spirit. And so in terms of this tea, which I'll remind you is the 2025 spring Old Arbor, which I think Old Arbor and GUSHU, big tree, ancient tree, all means the same thing, raw pu'er. This tea way overperforms on energy. Like, I could probably drink a gram of this tea and be having, a really positive, energetic experience. And so I want to shout out Paul from Y2T. I feel like I really appreciate the thought that goes into the tea boxes. I think it's very worth it to subscribe, especially if you're learning about tea. He always includes great that piece of brown paper where he types up some really cool notes and stories about the tea. But I want to appreciate his palate and the thoughtfulness that he puts into choosing these teas. It's just so fun, just really fun. And hopefully I'll get to enjoy this little tea cake for a long time, and share it with people. It's not much, but if we're just using 2 to 3 to 4 grams, it's gonna last a while, which is kind of fun. So we've got our color. I don't know what's the best way. We've got our color. That's pretty good, right? You can see that it's darkening a little bit. I don't expect it to get super dark. I think we're gonna stay at this kind of Sheng Puer, kind of yellow, light, grassy color. I think it's beautiful. So the first pour is the high notes, dipping into the medium notes, and now the medium is just abundant, and it's so balanced. It doesn't actually have a lot of that astringency. Sometimes Sheng Puer has this like tongue twisting. That's not maybe a good term for it. Like, it has this upper palate lift of astringency, which can be really pleasant and enjoyable and complex and interesting. But this has a strong mouthfeel, but quite balanced in a really pleasant way. Yeah, it's just a vegetal, complex. Yeah, a little bit of almost a peachiness to it, a peach nectarine kind of sweetness, sweet tiny bit sourness. And I don't mean sour on the tongue, but kind of sour in the exhale. You can taste this like sweet, almost as if you had bitten into a peach. Oh my god, it's just really good. And the thing about me is I have a lot of, oh god, I'm pouring a lot in there. I have a lot of tea. I was thinking about this today. Like, if you drink two tea sessions a day, right? And you're drinking 2 big tea sessions a day, like the max tea you're going to drink is 20 grams per day. And there's people out there that are probably drinking a lot more than that. And so I'm kind of speaking for myself. Excuse me. If you're drinking 20 grams of tea per day, you can calculate that out to how much tea you're drinking per year. And I'm looking at my tea collection going, I have some green teas in here that they don't last forever. You want to drink those within the season. And so you get to this point where you're like, I have a lot of tea. Some of it is great for aging, and we can only drink so much. So I think when you get to that place in your tea drinking journey, it becomes wise to choose teas that you want to have around for months and years. You want to make the space so that you can drink a good tea when you're drinking tea. And I know that's an aspirational thing for most of us, right? Because tea can be expensive, which is why I started sourcing tea. I want to find, mid-shelf quality teas at daily drinking prices. I am not ready to source stuff like this yet. this is really, really special, high quality stuff. But I want to source stuff that you could drink every day, and you're feeling like you are dipping into like. And the thing about when I talk about lower, middle, and upper shelf tea, the upper shelf kind of goes on into infinity. So an upper shelf tea can be a tea that could cost like $20 to $30 per gaiwan, right? So a mid-shelf tea, if you're drinking mid-shelf teas a couple times a year, like that's really good, you know. Lower shelf teas are also great. I consider tea bags and kind of run-of-the-mill factory tea as like, I wouldn't even really put that on the shelf. I might not even put that in my collection. So I'm kind of thinking of the tiers of a collection. And I think buying from, you know, small tea purveyors is a great way to get your middle shelf tea for like, you know, $1 a serving, $1, $2, $3 a serving. And so that's why I started sourcing white teas, because I found I wasn't finding very great white tea that would be a solid middle shelf tea for prices that I could pay. And I know kind of how much tea costs in China. So I started sourcing, you know, just 3 teas that I could get a decent amount of and sell at a price that was very affordable. So you could drink the tea every day if you wanted to. If you're like me, you would drink it every single day. You know, some people like to have it a couple times a week or just on special occasions, or make a big batch of iced tea. Okay. So it's settling down a bit. We're kind of rounding into this nice, easy drinking, wonderful flavor. The complexity, you know, it's like akin to if you've had scotch, you know, like the peatiness and the smokiness, that there's so much going on. It's similar to this. Like you could spend a lot of time with a single sip and experience a lot. That's why tea could be really good for meditation. You can really feel into the sensory experience and use that as a grounding mechanism. Anyways, so yeah, I'm interested in supporting how we can get you know, build partnerships with tea farms so we can experience the health and the benefits of drinking good tea daily and not pay a ton of money. Oftentimes, I unfortunately see really, really expensive tea that's pretty low quality based on what's out there. You know, sometimes in a town there's one tea shop, and so you don't have access to that much tea. So it's like good quality comparative to the tea bags in the grocery store, but like it's not fresh. It's not, you know, necessarily processed very well. So I'm really interested in how we can bring good tea for a decent price. So if you're interested in supporting my very small tea adventure, I have 3 cakes that are available to buy. And if you buy one and like it, that means our palates might be compatible. So you might agree with some of my opinions on tea. So it's kind of a fun way to understand and follow different tea collectors. And like, what do you like? Oh, if I like a lot of the things that you like, you know, we might kind of be interested in the same types of things. All in all, this is a tea to be aged, but right off the bat, I think this was maybe picked and processed like 4 or 5 months ago. Right off the bat, I'm rating this tea an 8. And I rarely get into the 8s and 9s because, you know, the range of great tea is so, like, the good teas I'll probably never drink in my life. So I want to reserve some space for those insane, amazing teas. 6s and 7s are great middle shelf teas. I'm going to put this at 8, knowing it's going to only get better with age, but just the deliciousness and the complexity, yet it's still approachable. People who don't like Sheng Puer, I think, would really enjoy this tea. So again, I want to give a shout out to White 2 Tea for putting these good boxes together, for throwing this nice little surprise in there. And I want to thank you for hanging out and watching. If you have this tea, if you subscribe to the Y2T box, let me know what you think. And, my rating is 8 out of 10. I may never rate any tea in the 9s. So keep that in mind, and I would love to hear what you rate your tea and how you think about rating tea. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Good times. Keep drinking tea. And that's all I got. Goodbye.